All right, welcome back, everyone. Please welcome our next presenter. We have Alternet Systems, Inc. It trades on the OTC Pink sheets under the symbol ALYI and has developed a comprehensive long-term electric mobility business strategy that's focused on rapidly expanding into the market in Sub-Saharan Africa. Please welcome its CEO, Randell Torno. Welcome, Randy.
Thank you, Anna. It's nice to be here and nice to get a chance to talk about Alternet and our company and our ideas about how to make some progress in transforming transportation in the developing world.
All right.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much. So let's start with the Alternet story. So a few years ago, we took a company and we got some battery technology from a company called Air Products, a Fortune 500 company that concentrates on making power tools. And we thought we would take some of the lithium battery technology that they had patented, and we would take the patents and we'd make better batteries. And if we made better batteries, then people would make better tools to use the batteries that we made. Well, after we got into the business, we realized that applications should drive technology, not technology driving applications so much. So we kind of moved out of just trying to make better batteries and got into looking at what kinds of technology we could really make a difference in. And kind of led us into the electric vehicle arena. And as we all know, there are lots of electric vehicle players now, from Tesla to the big car companies to a new company just called Polestar that just dropped a new sedan on the market. So there really are a lot of players in the market, especially in the developed market. But we've always kind of done work in the developing world and in transition economies. I've got the better part of a decade and a half of working primarily in East Africa, but all around the continent of Africa, from Senegal to South Africa to Kenya and Ethiopia. And the need for better, more efficient, more environmentally friendly transportation is massive there. For example, there might be 2 million motorcycles on the road in Kenya. The motorcycle, they're called bodabodas in Kenya. They're a ubiquitous part of Kenyan life. I mean, people move almost everything on motorcycle taxis because they're small, cheap, and reliable. Well, they also are all powered by gasoline. So 2 million, 100cc gasoline engines, they use a lot of fuel and they set a lot of pollution in the air. So we kind of decided to concentrate on how we could start to build an electric vehicle ecosystem in a developing or transition market economy. There's just a lot of room to work there. Anyway, that's kind of where we've headed. Now, I'm going to start with our first real project has nothing to do with Kenya or with East Africa or with boda motorcycles, except for that it's a motorcycle. We've taken followed the lead of several other motorcycle companies. So there's a company called Bike Zero that makes a cruiser for the American roads. There's a Harley Davidson has their live wire bike that is a electric cruiser. Now, the Harley Davidson bike, costs $30,000, and it's an expensive motorcycle that, costs as much as a car. We decided to try to see if we could come up with a retrofit kit for an older classic motorcycle design, and our retrofit kit is really primarily designed and intended for North American and European collector and classic bike enthusiasts. Our goal is to make an affordable kit, or if you want to buy a complete bike, we'll get the frame and install the kit ourselves. But our goal is to make an affordable kit that would be a handful of parts. I don't want to say 2, 3, 5, 10, but it would be a kit that could be, if you're a savvy enough builder, you could convert your BMW R71 frame into an electric motorbike in your garage over a weekend. That's where we're headed. with our design and build out of the bike. It's turned out to be a bit more complex than we had originally thought it might be. Packing enough power to create a bike that has range and speed and the ability to move a bike on a motorbike with a sidecar. It takes a lot of power, and you got to get a lot of power into a small space without melting the batteries. So it's been a bit of a technological challenge, but I think we're well on our way, and I think we're going to get there with the bike as we continue to move forward. Now we have actually, to tie it back to our developing and transition economy focus, is that some of the things we've learned about packing a lot of power into a small space are things that we can do with manufacturers for the boda market. So one of the challenges of the boda market is the electric motorcycles currently on the market available tend to have very limited range and a relatively long recharging time. And I'm going to talk about that in the next slide. But some of these innovation and ideas are things we can share with manufacturers as we've put our kit together and gotten toward where we will actually have a functioning, purchasable R71 conversion kit, or if you want to buy a completely converted motorcycle, we can get the frame and do the conversion for you. That's where we're headed. So we've really spent a lot of time working on battery life and range. We've played around with the idea of doing a true heads-up display instead of just a gauge to show you how fast you're going and how much battery you have left. We may or may not put a heads-up display on the bike. It depends on usability and what it ends up working out. And we've also used the hub motor, which is basically turns the rear wheel. Instead of the wheel spinning from a chain or a shaft drive, the hub itself is the motor, and the motor housing is the spinning part of the rear wheel. So we've done both a hub motor and or a mid motor, and now we're working on a hub motor prototype for our R71 conversion. And that's been moving along. It's a little slower than we'd like, but it continues to make progress. I was just at the design and workshop yesterday, and we're getting there. That takes us to the kind of our second line of effort, and all these lines of effort are interrelated and connected, but different. So the second line of effort is we want to be more than just an electric vehicle company. We see ourselves as not just an electric vehicle sales company. There are plenty of manufacturers, and manufacturing takes probably a lot more capital investment than we can generate at this point. But what we are is a kind of an ecosystem builder, is the way I would term what Alternet does. Is and part of our building of an ecosystem is we've been in talks with a major electric race sponsoring company, a race company, to do an electric motor car race in Nairobi, Kenya, sometime in the next year or two. So we're partnering with a very top name in electric racing. I can't tell you who it is yet because they've not given me the permission to kind of let you know that we've gone into this partnership, but we're well in the works of having all of the suitability studies done to get Kenya on the card to be a host of a major electric vehicle race in either 2022. I don't think we'll get 2022, 2023, or 2024. And we would expect that this to be a multi-year contract to sponsor the race, and not just the race, but we would sponsor it as a symposium or convergence of innovation in electric transportation ideas for developing countries. And we would host it in Nairobi, Kenya, and it would concentrate on developing country markets. And it would be the draw. And as the named sponsor of the race, we would, of course, generate revenue from hosting the race and the convergence of innovation events. That's ongoing. We're well on our way to having that race agreement finalized and being able to make the announcement of who our partner is soon. Then we get to my favorite part of what we do, because I spend the most time on the ground working with our potential partners and customers. It's the Boda Boda motorbike taxi opportunity. So, like I said earlier, there are at least 2 million Boda Boda bikes on the road in Kenya. These are a Boda Boda bike, for example, is a 100 cc to 175 cc 2 or 4 stroke motor, just a regular motorcycle. They're not sport bikes. They're very conventional, what I would call classic motorcycle styles, and they're used for delivering everything from people to farm animals to UPS packages to lunch. They are ubiquitous across most developing country cities and rural countrysides. They're basically the form of transportation for motorized transportation everywhere across the developing world. Some sort of 2 or 3 wheel small motor driven machine is how people, about 6 billion of the 8 billion people on Earth, that's how they get where they're going. So there's a tremendous market for it, and it's nearly all petrol driven, and depending on the country, petroleum is a subsidized product for many developing country governments. That means that they spend a lot of their own money buying fuel so that their people can move around, and we just see a big opportunity, both from the ground up, from the driver, who, if he can save $4 a day on fuel, well, if his daily income is $8 to $10 a day, we've now put an extra 50 to 100% of income in his pocket that he's a cost avoidance profit that he's made by not having to pay $4 a day for gasoline. Now he can pay. So, for example, in Kenya, the equivalent of a $4 a day gas tank fill up in electric units costs about 75 cents. So a driver pockets $3.25 extra of income per day. Well, that's multiply that across, if you could get all 2 million bikes electrified, that's a lot of money. And it's also a lot of money that now the government of Kenya doesn't have to subsidize oil prices and sell fuel at a subsidy price. It allows the Kenyan government, the whole chain of economic development can change dramatically. But the challenge is there's really no electric vehicle ecosystem in most developing countries yet, or it's very embryonic electric vehicle ecosystem. From the being able to buy the bikes and get the bikes on the road, a gasoline powered bike costs between $1,000 and $1,500. We want to get electric bikes into that same price range, and if we can put electric bikes in the market for that same $1,000 to $1,500 price range, and find ways to finance. Now, most Boda Boda drivers, the profile of a Boda Boda driver is a young, usually single man between 18 and 40. It's his first or his second foray into trying to have a business. They're people who are living on $8 to $10 a day, which that's $3,000 to $5,000 a year. That's middle income, lower middle income living, but they're not building up bank accounts, and so they don't have $1,000 to $1,500 to buy a motorcycle outright. Well, we want to partner with micro lending organizations so that are targeting Boda Boda drivers and turn those into customers. And because of the way that financial technical companies have been working in the developing market, fintech is far advanced in many developing countries, much further advanced than I think here, even in the United States, where even though a typical Kenyan may not have a big bank account, he may not have a lot of money in his bank account, through his use of his phone to pay for everything, we can track that customer. We can track a Kenyan's spending profile, and we can look at the velocity of his spending and create kind of a credit rating. We can determine whether a Boda driver is going to be a good customer and pay his loan back, or not. And so we can create a credit rating because I say that Kenya is a relatively fully banked country. Almost everyone uses the institutions of banking, whether they use them as informal banks or they use them through their telecom banking system. So probably for the first time, we can unlock the value of a credit-driven economy as opposed to a cash or a commodity-driven economy, which allows us to partner with micro-lending organizations that can find a way for us to finance the bikes profitably. And when I say profitably, you look at the way other electric vehicle manufacturers are taking, markup. Tesla's getting a 24% premium. GM gets a 15% premium. We think electric bikes to BOTA drivers could net us, in that same neighborhood, somewhere between 15 and 30% premium on each vehicle sold. And that to me, that's just a good business proposition. That just makes good business sense to be able to make a profit. Our whole business model puts more money in everybody's hands, including ours. So we think it's a good way to go forward. So in that vein, we're in the midst of putting a pilot program together in Kenya, and we want to get 10 bikes into Kenya, into Nairobi, to do business, get them in the hands of BOTA drivers, get their feelings about the performance characteristics of the bike, whether they want to switch or not. There've been a few highly publicized tests from other players in the market. We're not quite sure, that we're getting the truth of it or we're getting the publicity end of it. So we want to go, kind of create our own ground truth. Our pilot program also will help us develop the logistics that we're going to need to actually build a sustainable and viable electric bike market in a developing country. What parts are going to break, what things are going to need attention. It's the ecosystem is a lot more than just selling some electric motorcycles. It's kind of getting the Kenyans to accept electric driven vehicles, electric powered vehicles, rather than gasoline powered vehicles, overcoming the fear of a dead battery, which is still a main fear of electric vehicle drivers, even here in the United States. It's one of the big drawbacks for increasing electric vehicle sales is many customers have a big hesitancy to, it's the fear of running out of juice somewhere, even though, and it's an emotional fear as opposed to a statistical fear. In the United States, most electric car drivers are never more than 10 or 15 minutes away from a charging station, but it's the thought of I'm driving across New Mexico and suddenly my battery dies and I can't just whip in and fill up like I could if I had a gas station nearby. That kind of fear is what I term an outsized fear, but it's a real fear. And if it's the fear of your customer, it's a real fear. So we have to find a way to ensure that those concerns are addressed as we build the ecosystem out. And we also have to figure out whether the bikes that we want to import and eventually maybe assemble in developing markets are going to be durable and suitable to the tasks that the bikes are going to be asked to perform. So that's why we're starting with a 10 bike pilot. But we have a potential 2,000 bike order. We've got a signed order from a Kenyan partner, but we're waiting on that 2,000 bike order to test the 10 bikes. So that's where we're at with the bike pilot. It's also learning to navigate national and international import and tariff and regulatory restrictions. So it isn't as simple as going to a store, buying 10 electric motorbikes, sticking them in a box, and putting them on the next FedEx. There are a lot of hurdles that have to be jumped over, and so jumping those hurdles has been a big part of what we've been doing. And we're doing it not just in Kenya. So we're the next country over, Ethiopia. We've decided to do a pilot of, rather than motorcycles, the Ethiopian culture is more around the three-wheel tricycle taxi. So they're in India they're called bajajas. In much of the rest of the world they're called tuk-tuks. But it's essentially a three-wheeled tricycle, motorized tricycle that runs about 30 kilometers an hour and can carry 4 to 6 passengers. And these are ubiquitous in the Ethiopian countryside. So they're used to deliver people all over Ethiopia. So we want to replace a number of in Ethiopia they call them bajajas, gas powered bajajas with electric bajajas, and kind of once again see how it works, see what we learn about durability and suitability, also what we learn about working in countries that have varying economic development levels and economic opportunities and restrictions. Also the different cultural and infrastructure capacities that we'll run into in trying to build the electric vehicle infrastructure out. So there's a cultural infrastructure that has to be built out, as well as a mechanical and on the ground infrastructure. It's not just having some machines with some charging ports. It's making sure that the electricity is reliable to get recharging done, making sure that drivers understand the capabilities, the durability, and the suitability of the machine from what they were using with gas-powered machines to what they will be using with electric-powered machines. And then it's also dealing with regulatory and business partnership issues that vary from country to country to country. The working in Ethiopia is significantly different than working in Kenya. And then finally, where we think we're headed, where Alternet is going. Our vision is to make ourselves the hub of this kind of EV ecosystem in East Africa. And we don't want to be the only player, but we want to work together with other players. And, and I know co-opetition is kind of a buzzword and it maybe is a little overused, but I think that's exactly what we want to do. We want to be the information repository. We think there's value in that. And we want to work with other industry brand names where there are people who are going to have bits and pieces of the market that they'll do better than we do, and they'll be. I lost my train of thought. I got interrupted. They will be well positioned to do some things that we don't do well, but we want to be kind of the middle piece of it. We want to be the hub of all of that, where we're seeing and being a part of everything that comes through, and that would help us lead the transition to away from internal combustion engine powered to what I call new power for transportation. Revenue generation is by managing that ecosystem, by doing a few targeted projects that replace internal combustion engine powered transportation. Our bike order in Kenya, possible tuk-tuk order in Ethiopia, managing the race and the symposium. Those are all revenue generation activities. And then expanding overall transportation capacity, that's how we stay relevant and we stay a player, and that's how we continue to generate revenue for the company. Because at the end of the day, if you're a potential investor or you're a shareholder listening to this, you want to know how we're going to make money, and that's how we plan to make money. Our current focus is the electric motorcycle rollout in Kenya, the small public transportation vehicles in both Kenya and Ethiopia, doing the race and symposium, and then finalizing the R71 retrofit kit. I think for a small company like we are, that's a lot on the table. But we're confident that we can continue to work all three of those lines of effort in a way that returns value to the company and value to the shareholders and value to our customers. And that's kind of it for Alternet. So, Anna, I think I am finished now. I can come back to you for any questions.
Thank you. Randy, we have tons of questions, but we only have about 2 minutes left. So we will send all of these questions to you so you can answer them directly. But a few questions. Larry Burton wants to know, are you planning to move or expand to other regions?
Ideally, we're working in Africa because I've been in Africa, but this is an idea that is global. We could take this. I think we could take this anywhere that there are developing transition economies, and not just East Africa. And I've got some contacts in West Africa, and everywhere that I've kind of rolled out this idea of electrifying small unit public transportation, I've gotten very positive response. Once we get it to where we're generating positive revenue, I think then instead of us banging on doors in developing countries will be banging on our door to come and help them improve things. Because it's, like I said, it's a win-win-win. It's less money that countries that mostly subsidize their petrol consumption have to pay for petroleum. It's cost avoidance. It's less maintenance. It's less moving parts. It's more money in the pockets of ordinary citizens who then generate, an empowered economy. An empowered citizen creates an empowered economy, creates economic growth.
Yeah, and I've personally been on the tuk-tuks in many of those places, and it's the most efficient way to get around. Do you have any plans to uplist to the QB or QX? Ada McGowan is asking if you're in the process of becoming audited as well.
Right now we're kind of happy on the OTC Pro. Of course, we'll want to look at other exchanges and other revenue generation opportunities. We want to grow, and I think all OTC companies want to outgrow the OTC. Eventually, it's a great place to start, and for us right now, it's a great place to generate capital to kind of do what we want. But yes, we would love to get bigger, and as we got bigger, then we'd look at other opportunities.
Well, Randy, you're going to have to join us again on the Emerging Growth Conference because we have tons of questions for you, but we are out of time. Fantastic presentation, and please come back and present again because a lot of people are very interested in your.
Well, thank you, Anna. I'd love to do it, and let's try to schedule another one soon.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Randy. And we look forward to seeing you again. And everyone stay with us. We're going to transition to the next presenter. You might see a black screen, but we'll be right back.
Okay.